Under her very eyes, the countenance before her altered into a look of disgust, bordering on hatred.
Collins burst upon my aunt at breakfast. He read your express and hastened to come up to ask for leave of absence, without even troubling himself to find and notify you first. I had no notion till this morning that Longbourn was entailed upon him, nor how devoid of Christian charity he is. This vile excuse of a man of the cloth would cast you into the hedgerows as soon as he has the chance, the unmitigated—
The forceful rant broke off, and the gentleman drew the deepest breath before resuming, just as forcefully.
I will not have it, Elizabeth. To the best of my abilities, I will not have it.
The shock caused by the display of temper in a man of such cool and uniform reserve greatly surpassed that of the declaration and of hearing herself addressed by her Christian name. Before she could collect herself enough to request clarification, Mr. Darcy spoke again, still prey to the greatest agitation.
I know this is wretched timing, but it must be said. I would have found a way of speaking to you this evening were it not for— I should have spoken days, weeks ago. No matter.
His right hand cut through the air as he abruptly put an end to his second rant, more words than she had heard him speak in hours. And then his hand found hers, as did the other, to clasp them both between their chests, brought close again with one determined step.
For all the poor timing, you must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you, Elizabeth. Marry me, as soon as it can be arranged. If we are wed before—that is, if the worst should happen.
He broke off again and released one of her hands to nervously run his fingers through his hair.
Damnation! How can this be said? I hate giving you pain in the midst of my proposal, but if we were to marry before you have to go into mourning, then you would not be left unprotected for goodness knows how long, and I would have the right to keep Collins at bay. He might still stake his claims as soon as he could, the wretched scoundrel, but you would not be at the mercy of strangers before I am allowed to ensure your welfare. Can you see my meaning, and not judge me for importuning you at such a trying time?"
Then there was silence, and he stood there waiting for an answer to something that made no sense to her, no sense at all. Ardent love, marriage, Mr. Darcy, Mr. Collins, mourning. Elizabeth wrenched her hands free to cover her face as the last heart-rending notion cut through the haze, dispersing it with the heat of anger. How dare he speak of her father as though he were already gone? Yet the flaring anger did not survive the overwhelming tide of fear and misery. "I must go home," was all she could choke out.
"Of course, there is no time to lose. Let us take the shortest way back to the parsonage."
A strong arm was wrapped around her waist.
"Come, my love, let us not tarry. We can speak further on the way."
The steadying support was withdrawn before she could protest at it, or at the appellation, and the arm was placed under hers instead. She could not object to that, at least not until she found her feet, her balance, and a fast and sure step that would take her back to the parsonage in haste and silence. Yet nothing could silence the unforgiving thoughts that whirled furiously in her head, leading to ever-growing pain and confusion. Her father, apoplexy, Mr. Collins, Mr. Darcy, marriage, mourning, over and over. The surest way to lose her mind.